As you guys may know, I like to write books. That's why my channel is called Savvy Writes Books. You may be familiar with some of the books that I've written, including Cancel Sean Boston, the book that is on this mug. Mug merch linked in description below. Also, the book and the audiobook for Cancel Sean Boston is linked in the description below. I have a lot of books out, you guys, and as a result, a lot of people come to this channel for discussions of writing, for book reviews, and for other things like that. And when people start to really like this channel, one of the most common things that I get in the DMs is people saying things like, "Hey Savvy, I think it's cool that you like to write books. I kind of want to write a book, but I have no idea what to even do. What should I do?" And then I have no idea what to say to that because I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Like, you haven't started yet? Did you like write any of it? Is you have a first draft done? Are you editing it? Do you want it published? Like,
Help me help you, help me help you, help me help.
What? I don't even know where to start. Like, when people ask me like, okay, so how do I write a book? What? In the past, I've always felt really bad because I've been like, okay, so I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to help you right now, but I want to help you. I don't just want to leave you hanging. I don't know what to do.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
But now I think I know what to do because I just read a book that I think will be the perfect resource to point all of you guys to. So today I am going to be reviewing that book on this channel for you guys. Today we are reviewing the new book by Jenna Moreci called Shut Up and Write the Book.
Get you some nuts.
There was lots of memes.
Makes me wonder if I should pick up lesbianism.
Chicago.
You guys asked for it.
What is up, my fellow small business supporters? I'm Savvy. Welcome back to Savvy Writes Books. This is a channel where we talk about books and business, and today's video is going to be about both, even though it is primarily a book review. But if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe because multiple times a week I put out new videos all about books and business, and next week I'm planning to do a video about the writing challenge that I'm working on for 2023 because I'm doing a monthly writing challenge every single month.
Psycho dude, seriously, you're a psycho.
And guys, I've been writing a lot. I've almost completed, at the time that this video comes out, I probably will have completed my 50,000 words for January, but I'm filming this a week in advance, so I'll have I've completed 46,000 now.
Somebody's an overachiever.
Anyway, my point is, I've been writing a lot, and I think that the book that I'm going to review today is going to be a great resource you can potentially use if you're also someone who wants to learn how to be more productive with your writing. So this is something I'm very excited to review. But don't forget to subscribe because new videos come out every single week, often multiple times a week. And while you're at it, go ahead and check out my second channel, Your Morning Guru, where we have a monthly book club where every month we have discussions live on stream where people can come on and join us. So if you enjoy listening to my book reviews and you enjoy my discussions of books, you will probably enjoy participating in those over there as well. So definitely subscribe to that channel. It is my every single morning live stream, every weekday morning live stream show. Anyway, let's get on to the book review.
Finally.
So, first question, who is the author of this book, Jenna Moreci? If you guys have been following me for a long time, and by a long time, I mean like years, like if we want to go way back to like 2019 or so, you probably have seen Jenna on my channel because she and I have done collaborations in the past, and I guess that makes me a little biased in this review because I do like her as a person a lot and I do consider her a friend, so full disclosure. But I am going to talk about a lot of the things that I like in this book and the things that I agree with, so positive book review alert! Today we're not snarking, we're doing a positive book review, but don't you worry, negative book reviews are coming back soon. I got a book of Steven Crowder's to review soon, so like negative book reviews will be here if that's what you're here for. But today is a positive review and recommendation and writing discussion. Hope you guys are okay with a little bit of positivity in your lives sometimes. I hope it doesn't make you melt. Anyway, Jenna is a fellow YouTuber here on YouTube. She is one of the biggest creators in the AuthorTube genre. So, you know how like we have BookTube and that's where like the genre of people who review books. I guess I'm kind of part of that genre because reviewing books is most of what I do, but then I also do videos that are about like business commentary and stuff like that. So, I don't know, you can consider me a booktuber or not. You don't get to control what I identify as. Facts don't care about your feelings. Anyway, AuthorTube is kind of a subgenre of BookTube where it is videos about books, but they're more about the process process of writing books. They often give writing tips and writing advice, or publishing tips, marketing tips. There are a lot of fantastic AuthorTube channels that I have recommended before, and I have done a lot of collaborations with fellow AuthorTubers. And Jenna Moreci is the channel who actually kind of introduced me to this genre in the first place. I've been watching her since long before I started YouTube myself. I think her channel is super funny. I think she's really great at giving writing advice in a way where she has this really funny attitude. She makes a lot of jokes along the way. She's not afraid of being a little bit vulgar. I think she has a similar sense of humor to me, which would make sense because the most recent collab that we did, which I believe was like in February of 2020, before the world shut down for COVID, we did this collaboration together where we did a dramatic reading and review of Chuck Tingle books. So we reviewed, like, I think Space Raptor Butt Invasion. We reviewed one about, like, Bigfoot Pirates Haunt My Balls. We did a few interesting books for that. Oh, I think we did Pounded in the Butt by My Own Butt. That book is great because it starts off with, where does the miracle of magic end and science begin? And I'm like, that is deep, Chuck Tingle. The man is a literary genius, okay?
Do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?
So anyway, if you haven't already seen that video, it's super old, and I'm sure my audio quality's bad because it was like at the very beginning of my channel, but that may be where you know her from if you've been watching me for a long time. Anyway, she is one of the bigger creators on AuthorTube, someone who introduced a lot of us to that genre, other than I think like Daniel Green. He might be currently like the biggest book and AuthorTube creator right now. I'm not entirely sure. But regardless, I love Jenna's channel, and I was really excited to see that she was releasing her first nonfiction book called Shut Up and Write the Book. She writes a lot of fiction, dark fantasy, sci-fi genre blend type of things, but I was really excited to see her writing a nonfiction book about her experiences because I think she has a lot of experience being someone who used the internet as a way to build an audience and build a platform to generate a full-time writing income. We always hear people selling us courses and saying, you know, how can I become a full-time writer? There's a lot of grifters and scammers out there that we often call out on this channel who do those kind of things, but she's always been someone that I've been able to look to as like a legitimate role model, as someone who built an audience organically, found a lot of people who legitimately are invested in what she has to say and in the writing that she's doing, rather than like selling courses or trying to sell someone a boss babe lifestyle or something. I think she's always kind of embodied that life, and we can learn from it. That's a thing I often say on this channel as well, which is that I like to read lots of different books by different people that speak to their specific life experience, rather than take someone's course that's supposed to claim it can solve all my problems. That's a very common theme on this channel, and that's why, since she is living that full-time writer and YouTuber and entrepreneur life, I was really happy to read a book about her process, her methods, and things like that. That's kind of like what I did with my book Savvy Business Owner. I think it's great to pick up tidbits of what you can learn from other people. So, what's in this book? Let's talk about Shut Up and Write the Book. If you can tell from the title, the book is kind of a humorous, a little bit snarky, a little bit like, got a little dark sense of humor, a little bit of vulgar humor here and there.
Like, how funny?
But it is a humorous take on how you can go about writing a book, what your writing process might look like if you don't know where to start. I think this book does a pretty good job of covering the writing process from being, you know, someone who's brand new to writing, which is why I would recommend it to everyone who goes into my DMs and says like, Savvy, I want to write a book. Where do I even start? How do I even outline? How do I even type words? Like, I think this book is great because it does really scaffold things well. It does start off with this idea of, here's how you can generate ideas. Here's how you can outline those ideas. Here's how you might sit down and start writing those. Here's how to develop good habits as a writer. And it takes you through each step of the process. What I will say this book doesn't have is it doesn't have like marketing advice. It's not a book about how to build your audience. It's not a book about how to build your readership or what Amazon ads to use or how to best like grow your YouTube channel. It's not about that element of it. However, there is an author that I read sometimes who does cover that element of it a lot, and that is Chris Fox, who I will need to do a review of on this channel. I've reviewed a couple of his books on the Your Morning Guru streams, but I think I reviewed Six Figure Author and Right to Launch or something. I reviewed a couple of his books on that stream, and I think that he has a lot of really good advice for rapid release authors or for getting yourself attention in the Amazon algorithm, which does change over time. But I would recommend his books if you're looking for solely help on that angle. But if you're brand new to the writing process and you're just looking where to start, I think this book can be great for that. So I'm going to read a few excerpts from it that I pulled aside that I thought really showed what this book has to offer. So the way that the book is structured is that each chapter goes through a different stage of the writing process. It breaks it down. She gives her methods. She talks about examples of how she's used these strategies in her writing. And then at the end of each chapter, she has like a summary and a set of takeaways. And I thought that that was really helpful at the end of each chapter. So let's take a look. Towards the beginning of the book, this was the first place that I took a photo of the book because I was like, I think this section right here really shows the style of humor that this book has. And that is where she's talking about the brainstorming process. And she's calling brainstorming, she's talking about it as a mind dump. Basically, your brain is taking a dump all over the page and all the ideas in your brain are just, you're just spewing them out all over the paper or the keyboard or whatever. It's not about having to organize your thoughts or think too hard about anything. And she says, you know, sometimes your imagination is a mind vagina birthing spectacular wisdom, and other times it's a mind anus spewing shit. But when you put a cap on your creativity, you're stifling all areas of invention. Sure, the garbage won't surface, but neither will the brilliance. I thought that was a good way to put it, mostly because I'm immature and I think jokes about genitals and butts are funny and will never stop being funny.
Boobs.
So that's just my kind of humor, and that's the kind of, I guess, crude sense of humor that goes throughout the entire book. I think that shit's hilarious, so keep going with that. And I thought it was also good advice for brainstorming. There was a part of this book as well that I took a picture of that I thought I could go back to and look at again, because even though I'm a more experienced writer, I've been writing professionally for close to a decade now, and I have like 13 books out.
Overachiever.
So even though I'm someone who already does write a lot and has a lot of experience, and I said that the book was good for people who are just starting out, there's also stuff in there that I felt that I could try out or I could learn from and that got me motivated. And one of those is where she lays out her outlining process. So the chapter about outlining, or multiple chapters about outlining, because she's definitely someone who likes to outline. The chapters about outlining take you through a couple different story structures, one being like the 3-act structure, which is what we often see in 3-act plays, we often see for movies and things like that. She talks briefly about the structures involved in Save the Cat and things like that, which Save the Cat, you can get the book on screenwriting, which is the original one by Blake Snyder, or then there's an adapted one about writing novels that you can get as well, and I think Save the Cat as a writing outlining formula is really helpful. But she basically talks through a couple different outlining methods, and then she talks about the one that she personally uses, which is, you know, she basically takes kind of the 3-act structure and modifies it a little bit to fit kind of the template of how her stories tend to flow, and then she breaks down point by point what she tends to do in the story. And I thought that this was really helpful. So she starts off with like Act 1, the beginning shit, number 1, a look into the future, and she says, you know, I suggest evaluating the overall tone of your story and giving readers a taste of it at the beginning. For example, if you're writing erotica, you might open with something erotic, or if you're writing action-adventure, you might open with a gunfight. So getting that opening image really nailed down, and I know opening image is what the Save the Cat method calls it, but I thought that, you know, that's a good way to start off a book. Every once in a while, I'm like, I write some romances sometimes. I'll be writing a romance, and I want the romance to be sexy, and then I'll realize, my opening scene isn't really sexy. I don't want to give everyone all the sex right away, but I want to give people an idea that that's what's next to come so that they'll keep reading. And sometimes I know I and a lot of other writers can struggle a lot with getting that beginning hook down, so I thought that was good advice. Then it goes into a look at normal life, and then from there she goes through the rest of the steps of how she outlines, kind of the beat-by-beat breakdown of that. I thought she did a good job of breaking it down and then juxtaposing her descriptions of it along with what she did in her writing, or comparing it to one of her books and saying, you know, this was the point in my plot where I had this character do this, and here's why I had them do that. Breaking it down, showing it side by side with examples. I thought it was really specific advice and was fantastic because of that. Then after that, there was a summary that came after it, and I thought these pages that summarized it were really good. These are pages that I think I'm going to return to because I always enjoy trying out different outlining styles. Like I told you guys with Cancel Sean Boston, when I was writing that with RK, when we were writing that book together, we started with the Take Off Your Pants outline to get our rough outline down, and we did that on the website Story Planner, and then once we had that outline, we went to Save the Cat, and then we took the rough story structure that we had, and we made it a more specific outline through Save the Cat, and then we took it into a chapter by chapter outline from there. So that book was like heavily outlined before we wrote it. Whereas I've tried writing other books without outlines, and it's very different depending on the style of writer that you are. So anyway, I like trying different styles of outlines. I think I am going to try following Jenna's method for outlining a story, because I'm writing a lot right now, as I've mentioned. So one of the next things that I write, maybe one of the next romances that I write under a pen name, I think I might write according to the structure that she lays out in the book and see how it turns out, because I think that form of experimentation and trying different methods is really important. So I think the fact that she gives a summary, she says summary, how to structure your novel, and then breaks down the 3-act story structure, breaks down her structure, and just kind of gives it in bullet points without all the extra description at the end of the chapter. I think that's really helpful for keeping your brain organized. I just thought the organization of the book itself was really good there. And as I mentioned, I like to read a lot of different books that specifically talk about that author's specific method or their specific style that they like to use, and that doesn't necessarily mean that everything in it's going to work for you. And like I've talked about, outlining doesn't work for everyone. This book is very pro-outline, and it is very outline heavy. It talks about, creating a structure, making sure your structure is really solid ahead of time. And she even does give a disclaimer in the book saying, hey, if outlining doesn't work for you, then you're not required to listen to my advice. This is just me telling you what I do. And I think that can be really helpful, because I do want to learn from other people's methods, even if I don't know if they'll work for me. And I have experimented with a variety of methods, like when I talked about, I wrote One Final Vinyl, that novel of mine. It's a YA novel that I put out in 2020, and that one was like a pantser novel. There was no outline for that. I just started free writing, and I was free writing in journals on my lunch break at work, and I was free writing in coffee shops and in restaurants, and I would just like sit at the computer and type things. At the time I was living in this one apartment building, and I would like sit in the lobby and just type on the lobby computers. Everything was just like free writing nonstop, and then I eventually put it together somehow, and that was that novel. Then contrast that with Cancel Sean Boston, which I talked about, went through like 3 different outlines before we even started writing it, and that was a completely different process. So I love trying a little bit of a different process for each book that I put out and seeing what works best for me. So I'm excited to try that method as well. Another thing that I think is helpful is that the book goes into some specifics about writing, including things like how to choose your verb tense, how to choose your point of view. And these are things that a lot of beginning writers sometimes ask me about, or that I notice it can be hard for people to figure out or nail down. Like verb tense shifts is one thing that when I'm reviewing a book by someone who is famous for something other than writing, like someone who is a billionaire or a business owner or something, and they're writing a book just to make some quick cash on it, you can often see that writing's not their strong suit, because maybe they're shifting verbs everywhere, or maybe the point of view is just like head hopping so much to the point where it's not like a consistently omniscient point of view, but more so like, wait, why are we suddenly over here? And it gets really confusing. This book talks about how choosing that verb tense and choosing that perspective that you're going to write from is something you really do need to decide before you get into the writing process. And just quick disclaimer, that's not to say that every draft is going to be the same. I will give an example of my own writing. When I first wrote 90s Kids, my first draft of 90s Kids, the first draft was alternating first person present tense. So I have Bex and Nicole, the 2 main characters in 90s Kids, and I would write like one chapter from one of their perspectives, first person, in present tense. The next chapter is from the other one of their perspectives, first person in present tense also. And I flip-flopped it. That's what I did for like the first 2 or 3 drafts of that. Then when I got to the 4th draft, when I had a contract with the publisher for that, and I was going through like all of my publisher's developmental edits, I said, hey, you know what I think is going to solve a lot of the issues we have in this book with like, oh, you're worried that in these areas their voices sound a little similar and you can't keep track of which one it's I in this point or whatever. I'm like, I think what'll make it a little better is if I shift it into third person and see what happens, but still try to maintain that voice, because it'll be alternating limited third person. So instead of alternating first person, it's third person, but it's limited third person, so the narrator is describing the character and you get their name and you know exactly which one they're talking about, but it's still filtered through their perspective because it's alternating limited third person and it's never omniscient. So that is something that I did when I rewrote that one. So that's not to say it can't change, but it is to say that when you're writing a book, book is going to need to be consistent for the reader. And a lot of people who are newer at writing might even not know what the fuck I was just talking about there, which is why you maybe should read this book, because I think that this book really does break down what each one of those things is. What it means to write in first person versus what it means to write in third person. What it means to write as an omniscient narrator versus a limited perspective narrator. Why you might choose present tense versus past tense. What the pros and cons are. What are the different effects that might have on the reader and those considerations. Because these are choices that you as a writer are going to have to make. And you should probably make the choice intentionally rather than just, I mean, I guess you could just write and see if it worked, but if you want to make the choice intentionally and you're not sure which way to go, this book can help you break it down and figure out those things, even on what seems like a micro level, but really is a huge part of the writing process. So overall, I think that if you are someone who is new to writing a book, and you are the kind of person who would slide in my DMs asking me, Savvy, just tell me how to write a book right now, I will just point you towards this. I'm just going to link you to this book. I don't have an affiliate code for it or anything, but I am just going to link you to it because I think it really breaks it down and it gives the whole spectrum of advice from starting to ending of writing that book, of drafting, of outlining, that whole process. And if you follow the advice in that book, you should have a book by the time that you're done if you're actually doing the things that it says and the things that it suggests. And that's not to say that if you are someone who is an experienced writer or you've written before, you've published before, that you can't gain anything from this book, because like I said, I took a picture of her outlining method. I want to return to that page where she gives a summary of it and breaks it down into bullet points because I want to try it out. I want to try out her outlining style and see how it works for me, because I think writing is a very collaborative effort. It can feel very solitary sometimes. You might feel kind of lonely when you're writing because you feel like you're doing it by yourself. But in reality, writing is something where we're all learning from each other. We're all learning from other books that we read. We're picking up things around us and taking each other's advice and seeing what sticks and what works best for us. So I think that can definitely be beneficial in my writing process and maybe yours as well. So overall, I absolutely recommend Shut Up and Write the Book by Jenna Moreci. I think that Shut Up and Write the Book is also just a good title because too often I just hear people being like, hey, Savvy, I want to write a book, but I don't know how, and I've wanted to write a book for 10 years. Okay, well, just do it. Just write it, okay? Like, I understand you don't know where to start, but, like, the book's not gonna make itself appear. This is not Gabby Bernstein's scam course where we're gonna manifest a book. That's not how this shit works, okay? If you want a book, you gotta just write it. Now, I don't necessarily shut up and write books. I don't shut up very often. I'm quite talkative, as you can probably see right now, but I do write the books, and I think that's what's most important at the end of the day. So I highly recommend this book. I think it's an awesome resource for new writers. It just came out last week, so if you want to check it out, I got it on my Kindle and I read it there. There is, I believe, a paperback version and a Kindle version, and it worked great as an ebook. Highly recommend it. I'll link it in the description below. Check it out. I hope you guys enjoyed today's positive book review and discussion of writing. We'll have some more writing discussions next week, but this Friday I am going to have a discussion about some business ethics and some business commentary because I know you guys love that as well. So join me for that. Make sure you're subscribed. I will see you then. In the meantime, keep on supporting small businesses and have a fantastic start to your day. Bye!
Get you some nuts.
There was lots of memes.
Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Chicago.
You guys asked for it.